The characters in Bluey are so amazing that sometimes you almost forget they're just cartoons with voices done by real people. But do you know who brings your favorite character to life in the show's original language? Bandit. And why don't we start with the voice of Bluey's dad, Bandit. The man who plays him is David McCormick, and the story of how he ended up voicing such an important character is actually pretty funny. David McCormick had never worked in voice acting before this. In fact, he's a musician born in Brisbane, the very same Australian city where Bluey's story takes place, and also where the studio of the series is located. He's a singer, guitarist, songwriter, and has been part of several bands since the 1980s. His most notable role is the frontman of the rock band Custard. So how did David land the role? Simple. A friend of his also knew Joe Brumm, the creator of Bluey, and asked if David would be interested in voicing Bandit. He said yes, and here we are. David even says he doesn't really act, he just records himself reading the lines at home and sends everything to the production team. He just happened to have a voice that fits Bandit perfectly. Life does play favorites. You know what's even cooler? There are many other Bluey voice actors you need to meet. So hop on board, because another Cinewave is starting right now. Stripe. One really cool thing about the show is that the artists behind its production truly believe in the values taught in each episode, like the importance of family. That becomes pretty clear when you realize that Dan Brumm, Joe Brumm's brother, the creator of the series, is the voice of Uncle Stripe. Especially since the Healer family is based on Joe's own family, so it makes total sense that his brother would also play Bandit's brother. And Dan really puts in the work, because besides voicing Stripe, he's also the sound designer of the series. Chilli. Melanie Zanetti is an Australian actress, and her role in the series is Chilli, Bluey's amazing mom. Unlike Bandit's actor, she already had an acting career before becoming Chilli, including appearing in the horror movie Battle of the Damned. Even after she started working on Bluey, she continued acting in films. And funny enough, the story of how Melanie got the role of Chilli is even funnier than how David McCormick became Bandit. She auditioned to voice a supporting character, but the sound designer, yes, Dan Brumm again, loved her voice so much that he thought she would be a perfect Chilli, and it looks like Dan Brumm was absolutely right. Brandy. Not all of Bluey's relatives are also Joe Brumm's relatives. Aunt Brandy is a different case because she's played by Rose Byrne. And guess what? Yep, she's a pretty famous actress. Rose has appeared in the X-Men films and also in the Star Wars franchise, so you could say she's got a lot on her plate. Even with so much acting experience, she admitted she was nervous about playing Brandy in the Onesies episode when the character was introduced. That's because Rose Byrne is also a big fan of the series and watches it with her kids. Just imagine if she had done a bad job and disappointed them, right? Luckily, she nailed it.
Hi, girls.
Hi.
Hey, Brandy. Hi, Chilli.
Documentary narrator. And Bluey has its fair share of special guest stars because a lot of artists and celebrities from all over the world want to make a cameo in the kids' show. Seriously, even Natalie Portman, a super famous actress and Oscar winner, made a guest appearance. She's best known for starring in Black Swan, but she's also had several other major roles, like Jane Foster in the Thor films and Padme in the Star Wars prequel trilogy. Her guest spot happened in the episode Whale Watching, where she voices a documentary narrator talking about whales. It's a really small cameo, but it definitely made a lot of her fans happy. Alfie. Remember Alfie, the store employee who shows up in the Quiet Game and ends up saving the day? Believe it or not, even he's voiced by a celebrity. His voice comes from Robert Irwin, an Australian wildlife photographer who runs a zoo with his family and hosts a show called Robert's Real Life Adventures. He's also the son of Steve Irwin, a famous biologist who hosted the show The Crocodile Hunter. Sadly, Steve passed away in 2006, but Robert carries on his legacy. Major Tom. Out of all the characters that have had special guest appearances, few people would ever expect one of them to be a horse. But that's exactly the case because Major Tom is voiced by Lin Manuel Miranda, a hugely successful composer who has written songs for Moana and Encanto. He even directed a movie, Tick Tick Boom, a musical starring Andrew Garfield, which is honestly really good. Even with all the incredible projects he's been a part of, he loved being in Bluey and voicing the horse that lives next to the school where the little blue pup and her friends study. And hey, if you also love special cameos, drop a comment down below with #horse in honor of Major Tom. Busker. But you'd be wrong if you thought Lin Manuel Miranda and David McCormick were the only composers who've dared to lend their voices to a character in the show. That's because Busker, a musician who pops up every now and then in some episodes, is played by Geoff Bush, the official composer of the series. Yep, those amazing tracks you hear during the episodes all come from this guy. And this isn't just any random cameo, because Geoff Bush's character is basically his own version inside the K9 universe. The entire production team must love him to have put him into the cartoon in this way. Trixie. Remember Aunt Trixie, Stripe's wife and the mother of both Socks and Muffin? Her voice comes from Miff Warhurst, an Australian TV and radio host. She's yet another example that Ludo Studios has an awesome work environment, since she also loves voicing Trixie. The main reason is that Trixie usually shows up in party episodes or when she's out with Chilli, which means almost all of her appearances happen during fun moments. Plus, it's not something super frequent, since Miff is probably pretty busy most of the time being a presenter. Oh, and let's not forget that besides Trixie, she also voices Indy's mom in the few times that character actually speaks. Bob Heeler. One thing we can imagine is that whoever voices Grandpa Bob, Bandit's dad, could never live off the paycheck he got for dubbing the character. After all, he showed up very little. But that's no issue for Ian McFadden. He voices Bob, but also has a successful career as a writer, actor, producer, and director. Most of his work has been on TV series, either as a screenwriter or an executive producer. Chris Heeler. And who voices Bandit's mom? None other than Joe Brum's actual mom. Her name is Chris Brum. Yes, her name is Chris, the same as her character, Chris Heeler. She's the first actress in Bluey to have the exact same name as her character. But there are no photos of her online, since she doesn't work on any other shows and isn't a celebrity. It's pretty clear that the Heeler family, especially Bandit's side, is based on Joe Brum's own family, right? Bandit would basically be a representation of the show's creator himself. It's likely Joe Brum didn't voice him simply because of lack of time, since Bluey's dad is present and in the spotlight in almost every single episode. Mort Cattle. Since we talked about Bandit's parents, we also have to mention who voices Grandpa Mort, Chilli's dad. He's voiced by Laurie Newman, who, by the way, has never had any other acting job. No wonder some fans believe he might also be related to Joe Brum, or at least a family friend. Especially because, just like Chris Brum, there are no photos of him online either. Radley. The one who had the honor of playing Radley, Bandit's older brother, is named Patrick Brammall. And no, he isn't Joe Brum's brother like Stripe's voice actor is. Patrick is actually an Australian actor with a long and successful career. He's best known for playing Sean Moody in the Australian series A Moody Christmas. Calypso. The teacher Calypso is one of the most amazing characters in the show, and maybe the reason why is because she's played by Megan Washington, a singer and songwriter who started out playing jazz but nowadays makes indie pop and alternative rock. We don't make music, but we're always dropping new videos about your favorite animated shows, so how about subscribing to the channel? Yoga instructor. Another special cameo, done in the same style as Natalie Portman's, was Eva Mendes, another successful actress who starred in movies like Too Fast, Too Furious and Ghost Rider. Her appearance was in Born Yesterday, where she plays a yoga instructor on a TV program that Chilli watches. Eva was really happy to be a part of the show, mainly because she's a big fan of Bluey and says it's her daughter's favorite cartoon. It's worth mentioning that she stepped away from acting back in 2014, so the fact that she agreed to do this cameo shows it was way more about genuinely appreciating the show than anything else. Poster. What's funny is that most of these cameos aren't people known for working in kids shows, but here we've got an exception, Anthony Fields. He's a musician, actor, producer, and most importantly, the leader of the kids' music group The Wiggles. Now, this guy definitely has every reason in the world to show up in Bluey. Anthony played a side character in the episodes Dance Mode and Bingo. Hopefully, he'll pop up in more episodes since his character is really fun, even if he didn't get a ton of screen time. What do you think? Coco's mom. Lee Sales is a famous journalist and writer in Australia, and every now and then, she also lends her voice to the show. She voices Coco's mom as well as an ice cream vendor who pops up in a few episodes. Jack's dad. A lot of people talk about Jack, the little pup who apparently has ADHD, but not many people talk about his dad, mainly because there isn't much to say about him. Still, one thing we can say about Jack's dad is that, surprisingly enough, he's also voiced by someone famous. His voice actor is Hamish Blake, who's best known as a comedian. Kids. But what about the kid actors? Who are the little ones that voice Bluey, Bingo, and the other children? Well, that's something we'll never actually know. The underage actors who lend their voices aren't credited to protect them from exposure, because turning kids into celebrities can be really risky, and plenty of child actors who started young know all too well how rough that experience can be. Want to keep the fun going? Then here's a tip. Click on one of the 2 videos we left up on your screen. Thanks for watching, and see you next time!